Does Peter Nygard own the Bahamas? Well, it would appear that he seems to think so. In fact, shortly after the 2012 election, he made this declaration.
It is our solemn duty to respond in kind by how we perform to you. Can I say this? PLP! Victory! Victory!
By his own public acknowledgement, Mr. Nygard funded to a great extent the Progressive Liberal Party's campaign. Mr. Nygard said that he did it expecting that they would approve the application that the former government rejected. So he felt he couldn't get it through the front door, he was going to try to get it through the back door.
But Bahamians know different. Peter Nygard does not own the Bahamas.
I think we have a great appreciation for the reason we need to protect it. Because if we don't protect it, like was said earlier, I think we're going to lose so much in the process.
I'm getting a property and it's 55 by 115, and the government is going to tell me what I can build on my property, what I paid for, but yet he can get an extra almost half the double sizes that he got. It's not fair.
I have children. In the future I'll have grandchildren, and what's going to be left for them? It is wrong.
Save the beach.
Why?
Because we need this beach. We really need this beach.
Last year, 2013, a series of bold, vicious attacks were launched against me, obviously in connection with the fight for Clifton. As the battle for the Sea Park intensified, so did these attacks. I believe that this was not a coincidence or it was not an accident. In my opinion, these acts were designed to discourage me, to intimidate me, and to frighten me into silence.
Despite the fact that he seems to have various public officials under his influence, he does not own the Bahamas. Despite the fact that he can hire scores of personal servants to do his dirty work, he still does not own the Bahamas.
When he can write to the man who is now our Prime Minister and say to him, my total pledge, and I quote, my total pledge and contributions to your party and some of its members is now up to $45,000 to date. Quite significant, I think you will agree. That's Mr. Nygard writing to Perry Christie. I ask you now to help me bring to a final conclusion a few housekeeping issues before I come back. He is telling my Prime Minister what he wants him to do before he comes back from Canada. That is indecent.
Over the years, Nygard has allegedly used illegal means to expand his land holdings at what he calls Nygard Key, but what is actually Sims Point. With regard to beachfront property, the law makes an allowance for landowners' property to be extended if it occurs through natural means over a period of years. However, it would seem that Nygard may have chosen to take matters into his own hands and has allegedly been illegally accreting Crown land from the sea in order to extend his property. Both the PLP and the FNM governments have acknowledged this fact.
The government told him that he has to remove this, and he refused. See, because Mr. Nygard seemed to be one who thinks he is bigger than all governments. In 2010, Mr. Nygard applied to the then government, which was an FNM government, to lease this area and the other area on the south side, which we will see, totaling just over 3 acres. The scientific report on the area says that this work and the work on the south side have damaged the area and continues to damage the area.
In March of 2014, the Coalition to Save Clifton took matters into its own hands, and in a symbolic gesture to lay claim to what is actually Crown land, the Coalition landed a group on the beach that makes up the land collected by Nygard. At this time, the president of the Coalition to Save Clifton, Reverend C.B. Moss, announced that this land was for Bahamians and made a vow to return to have a picnic on the People's Beach in an effort to reinforce this claim.
I'm Reverend C.B. Moss, Chairman of the Coalition to Save Clifton. On February 8th, to be exact, we celebrated the 15th anniversary of the Coalition to Save Clifton. The coalition was launched to prevent the commercial development of Clifton Point and instead to establish a land and sea park at that priceless site for the use of Bahamians and visitors alike.
The picnic was organized and set to be held on Independence Day, July 10, 2014. The plan was to have two picnic sites, one at Sims Point and another at Jaws Beach for those unable to make the boat trip to Sims Point due to age or fear of boats. The president of the coalition recognized the sensitivity of this issue as he had, on previous occasions, been privy to knowledge of both verbal and physical hostilities by someone associated with Peter Nygaard towards a member of Save the Bays.
Why you do this, Code?
You tell me why you came here, Code.
Why you do this?
Why did you come here, Code?
Why you do this?
Huh?
Why did you do this, Code?
Why you came here, Code?
Why you do this?
There was a vicious, unprovoked attack on me through the media, primarily through social media. There was also the alleged tapping of the telephones in my office and at home. There was the signs that they were rummaging through the garbage both at home and at the office. We were concerned that we were being followed, particularly at nights, by suspicious-looking vehicles with suspicious-looking people in them. Also, our office was broken into over an extended period of time. In fact, 4 times in a very short period of time. Fortunately, a young man was arrested, charged, and convicted, and is now spending time in prison. My personal email account was also hacked, and privileged information was published by an individual. The police arrested this individual but did not charge her because, as she says, of a high-level connection. My car was firebombed at 2:30 a.m. one day, and thanks to the protection of God and the action of my daughter, that the car was not totally destroyed.
Due to this history, the coalition requested police presence. However, on July 9th, just one day before the picnic was to be held, the coalition was informed by the police that they were unable to provide police presence due to a shortage of manpower. After receiving this information from the police, the coalition then got new information regarding additional plans that were put in place by Nygaard to meet the group with resistance and with the intent to instigate violence against the coalition and to then blame its members.
But we found out yesterday that they had a plot that they can't stop us from going on the beach, but they would come and promote a confrontation and then say we come on the land to create a problem.
As a result of this new information, a further request was made. The Commissioner of Police was asked to reconsider his position with regard to officers' presence at the picnic. This time, there was no response.
You see, they want to create a conflict. Don't answer him.
On July 10th, the Coalition to Save Clifton went ahead with its plans. And as promised, when the first group approached the beach at Sims Point, they were confronted by the promised mob. Threats and other negative words were hurled at them, and as a result of this hostility, the previous attack on committee member Fred Smith, and the personal experiences of the coalition's chairman, Reverend Moss, it was thought not advisable to land as previously intended.
We ran over, we were about to do a party on Nygaard Key because it's Crown land, it belongs to the Bahamian people. And what was so amazing was that you had a lot of Bahamians over there on Nygaard Key. Okay, and it was obvious that they looked like they were drinking, they were partying, and they were totally out of control. They were out of control. And we wanted to go over there and have a party on our Crown land. Unfortunately, you know, the way they were carrying on, it made no sense to go over there and have a party because it was obvious they was out for some trouble and mischief of some sort.
And so the boat returned to Jaws Beach, where persons were able to enjoy the picnic that was planned. The coalition's president attempted to make 3 more trips with 3 other groups to see if the hostility would subside as the day went on. but each time they were greeted with the same aggressive and threatening attitudes.
This is our 4th tour. On every one of our tours, they were lined up on the beach shouting at us and harassing us because they want it to be said that we came here to create a problem.
I think the sad thing about it was you had like a regular Joe Blow Bahamians fighting other Bahamians for trying to save the land for them.
Despite Nygaard and his workers' efforts to ban Bahamians from legally claiming land that is their own, it is still the intention of the Coalition to Save Clifton to have a picnic on the Sims Point site. Regardless of claims and attitudes to the contrary, it is the Bahamians' beach, and the Coalition to Save Clifton believes that we have a right to our land.
Why can't they just knock it down if it's illegal?
Well, you know, it looks like someone is trying to steal some property. But the question is now what you can do about it.
We need to stand strong as a Bahamian population and get the government to reject the lease.
I would ask the government to please put some police on that beach to protect the interests and the rights of the Bahamian people. And if they refuse to, that means they condone the activity. And they have a word for that. It's called treason.
I'm sorry, I can't really understand that, and I really can't see in the future how my kids will look at me as a grandparent and be like, how could you sell our land for a couple dollars that you couldn't even save for me in the future to live off, you know?
When you go against your country for a foreigner, you are committing treason.
Knock it down.